Hello and welcome to another video, and it's about the ZX Spectrum Next Kickstarter, and this is Kickstarter update number 50. And you'll remember number 49 was a little while ago. It was actually sort of mid to late July, and we got the impression that number 50 would be a lot sooner than this, as it's now mid-September. Update number 50, keyboard and case production update. August has come and gone, and we're way due an update of what's the latest with the next production threads. Following the good news with the testing of the keyboard alterations in the previous update, both keyboard and case manufacturers got the green light for full-scale production. While we expected to start this immediately, both companies informed us of an unplanned, in that I didn't plan for it, step called PP, pilot production, which basically means that committing to a smaller batch first just to make sure no defects develop when the molds and processes are run many times over. Although these are extra steps, they nonetheless count towards a full-scale production, meaning that, all being okay, these units are then shipped to the UK for the first full assembly testing at Nottingham, while the rest is produced at full scale. The keyboard PP run consisted of 50 units, while the case PP run is 400 units, although only a few cases will be sent for assembly testing, with the rest being stored for later shipping alongside the entire 3,000 plus batch, as the cases are rather large for transport, and there's little point in having 400 cases around when there are only 50 keyboards. And the picture you're looking at there is a lot of space bars. Ooh. The PP proved useful, as the texture of the keyboard keys showed a high degree of failure upon inspection of volume production. Given how many keys each keyboard takes, it's a lot of individual keys to go through, and some errors were found. The manufacturer fixed this issue already by reworking the mold texture and proceeded with the pilot production, now with no more issues in sight. There you can see texture marks inadmissible. And Enrique says here, to be honest, I can barely see the issue here, and when laser etched on top, perfection, thus fixed. And here's the special keys being moulded after the texture correction, showing they're coming out just fine. These 50 keyboards and a batch of cases are now being prepared for shipping to the UK for final assembly testing. Then the rest of them are entering production in the sequence, with a timeline of 6 weeks for full production. This is led by the keyboard timeline, as it's slower to be put together than the cases, which are expected to be ready in 3 to 4 weeks. That said, the PP production of the keyboards took longer than we originally quoted in July, so we're wary of a longer timeline than estimated. We're working with them on a daily basis to keep them on their toes though. Meanwhile, the case manufacturer is shipping a small special batch of a few units to the UK to ensure the packaging of the case is sturdy and protective enough for the cases to arrive intact, free of scratches and impact marks, and that the film keeping the two halves tight together don't leave any glue or marks when removed prior to assembly. Once we get these units next week, the week of September 16th, they'll ship the PP batch straight to the plant in Nottingham. And there's the next fully assembled with a PP case back at the factory. Fair to say the case PP is successful, no? The keyboard is not a PP unit, but an older prototype they have for fit testing. There's some assembly required on the case manufacturer's side. All the screws bosses are hot pressed into the top half of the case. The two retracting feet are attached. The light pipe, a transparent plastic tower that conducts the light from the board to the top of the case, is pressed into place. The 3 side buttons added and the 4 coloured strips melted into place. Then there's packaging the bus expansion cover and the accelerator blank in separate boxes, as the bus expansion cover is held by the next board and would rattle without it during transport, and the accelerator blank is screwed into the non-accelerated versions of the next at the time of final assembly. Still, much less work than assembling the keyboards. Now imagine 3,000 plus keyboards being assembled, not for the faint of heart. We've been in constant contact with the manufacturers throughout August and early September, and remain so to press ahead without delay as much as we can. There are some of the last steps though, so fingers crossed we're into assembly territory shortly, and about time indeed. Experimental features. While we don't usually go over features that aren't proven due to a fear of rising expectations, thus take these as possible but unconfirmed for now, this is too exciting for not sharing right away. DRimron Suter has just tested using the Raspberry Pi, the accelerator, to play back TZX files streaming directly the audio into the Next to load the software. This opens up a huge realm of possible new uses for the accelerator and sets the groundwork for its usage thanks to the help of Alan Albright and Tim Gilberts, who along with Darren are working on the interface of the Next with the RPI.
Once transferred, it executes a custom command, turning it into audio, sending it digitally back to the Next, where we can now support TZX files, obviously here, and more importantly than just it being TZX support, it supports custom loaders. I'm not very good at this, especially while holding a camera. But obviously, this is the first step on some of the new features we want to bring. I'm going to turn off these speakers, excuse me, I'm literally just turning them off down there, so you don't want to go deaf. This is the first step of bringing the new core and Pi together, which allows us a lot tighter integration with control of the Pi. Here the Pi is being automatically controlled over a UART and then sending the data back to the DAC upon the Next, using custom integration with ELSA on the Linux side, so Linux actually sees the Next as a digital sound card. So there's no analog loop here, it's all digital all the way through, meaning that we don't have to worry about volume and our tape loading errors and such joyousness as that.
So I've shown just a bit of the video there because I won't show the whole thing. I'll put a link to the whole video in the description below. And yeah, I've been watching a lot of Fantavision's videos recently. He has a lot of tales about dealing with terrible customers in retail. I've never worked at, well, we don't have Walmart in the UK, but they bought out Asda. I've not worked there, but I worked at Little Chef many years ago, and yeah, customers in retail kind of environments, especially ones that are expecting food to be perfect from Little Chef. Anyway, let's not go there. Right, this is it for the update. We'll keep tabs on the production and trigger a new one as soon as a large shipping of the PP is headed to Nottingham. Then the larger production shipping allowing SOS to engage all guns. Stay tuned. And just a selection of some of the comments from the Kickstarter comments on the page. Jesper Carlson says, I'd rather have it great than have it fast. Keep up the good work. Thanks for the update. Tom McCloy says, Shigeru Miyamoto once said, a delayed game is eventually good, but a rushed game is forever bad. The same is true for a Spectrum. Keep up the good work, and thanks as always for keeping us updated on the trials and tribulations of manufacturing. Rob Grzorskik says, great update. Please don't hesitate to post more, no matter what the content. I agree, it helps me make videos like this. Tony Bolton says, great update. Videos were an excellent touch. I agree, because I really enjoyed watching the videos and seeing how the production process is done. Sean Meller does an excited wee. Okay, I hope he was in the right place for it. Sky1971 says, can you tell us an estimated launch day? Thanks. No. John Iarnu says, admittedly was hoping and thinking autumn delivery, however, seems December/January is now more likely feasible. Let's hope for a truly festive season. JC says, thanks for the update and the fantastic news. The video snippets are particularly interesting. Try not to take the recent negative comments in the comment section to heart. Completion is so tantalisingly near now. Bob Basley says, totally awesome and the attention to detail is just outstanding. Loving the enhancements and progress utilising the Raspberry Pi. While this project has had its delays, they are all for the right reasons, and I personally can't wait to get the final product in my hands to experience what we all backed originally. Well done team to keep the progress coming. Michael Gwynn says it's mouth-wateringly exciting. That's why I'm having a drink of Fanta from my I've got a Hong Kong Fooey glass. Ivan Belhatchit says, hello, patience is a virtue, but how can anyone think this delay is acceptable? But it's beyond me. You've taken people's money over a year ago. This seems to be a side project for you. Do you even care what people have paid? Philip Stevens comments, you clearly have not been reading these updates carefully, otherwise you would not be accusing the Next team of being lazy or not caring. Go back and read the last couple of updates properly rather than making accusations you cannot back up with facts. Thomas de Silva Molina says, I think Ivan has a certain part of reason. All of us know how to read. In fact, it is almost certain that all of us have read the 50 informative updates more than once. And the strange thing is that in none of them, nobody had commented on anything of pilot production, especially in which deadlines for delivery, and this has been in many. The most embarrassing phrase I have read in the last update, without a doubt, is an unplanned, in that I didn't plan for it, step called PP pilot production. I personally find it difficult to believe that the team, after so many contacts with the producers, this issue never came up. It is more difficult for me to believe that nobody in the environment of the team knew this aspect in any mass production processes. I think it's a new excuse to save time, but I don't know what they want to do with all that time. More than 2 years already. Bit of broken English in there. Bruno Fonseca replies, I can see your assumptions being true if the project team was composed of seasoned people in industrial design and manufacturing of new products instead of a group of enthusiasts, most of them IT geeks that don't really understand the complexity behind bringing such a vision to life. I would risk saying that the only person with enough experience to warn the team about this extra step sooner has unfortunately passed away before his design was manufactured. That's Rick Dickinson, obviously. People have compared this project to the Vega Plus debacle, but you just need to look at the updates to see that these projects are nothing alike. The next team has been fully open about their problems and has provided satisfactory proof that things are moving forward. I would also like to have the next in my hands now, but I'd rather wait for them to iron out all the wrinkles than complaining about having received a broken product. An option for studio says, sounds like you didn't do your due diligence before backing this project. It is a side project / hobby of the creators who are software developers, owner of a games company, hardware tech wizard, and many volunteers etc. with day jobs. If you know a group of noobs in manufacturing hardware are doing their first project, it's pretty obvious there will be mistakes, unforeseen problems and delays. Just take a look at Sinclair history. I saw the delivery estimate when backing and doubled it in my head. It's also disingenuous to claim that the team knew about PP. You'd be amazed at what suppliers can forget to tell you, especially when they are under pressure or they think that you will know. Maybe less accusations based on theory and assumptions? I say all this as a Kickstarter project creator, where our estimate would have been way off. Anyone could have easily said to us, you must have known XYZ, therefore you are lying. Well, we didn't know XYZ, and I'm pretty sure we aren't lying to ourselves right now. Carlos Duarte de Nascimento says, +1 on appreciating the effort into making a great product and in understanding that the delays are part of that. The use of the Pi accelerator as a built-in virtual cassette player for TZX files was a stroke of genius, and I would love to use it that way, thank you. And M. Hutton replies, that's what I wanted, the sound of it loading and just enough time to make tea and toast before playing. I like that. And a final couple of comments. Thomas de Silva Molina says, Arabian Nights, memories of Sherazada Next and the 1001 updates. A little worried, a little tired of waiting, and a little afraid that this will continue for a long time. There are many of them, not to mention that we have something serious in our hands. We suffer a curious loop, small advances, small problems, and great silence, which indicates a big problem. And then when the bankers are desolate and their hope is exhausted, the big problem is communicated. A re-update of the delivery dates is carried out, and back to start, trying to delude them all. So 2 years and we're going for more. And what I fear is that with each deadline that is given, it's just a pretext to not communicate something worse, something we can't imagine. I get the feeling that the team not only has problems with screws, plastic cases, keyboard membranes, and that is production issues, if not another order that escapes to my imagination. But I hope it is not economical. Money, money, money is a mother of all problems. They have already spoken of a second financing, supposedly after the first one is delivered. All of you remain attentive. I love this project as the most, but I think being a little critical is not a sin, and in general it is good for the final result. A blind adhesion can be just as fatal as a systematic criticism. It is hard to believe that the team of developers could not foresee this type of setbacks, and sometimes it seems more like that, knowing them uses this as a list of excuses. What will be the next? And finally, Bruno Fonseca says, if you're hinting that they've run out of money, you could have done it in one sentence. Okay, thanks very much for watching, and I'll bring you the next update on the next, as soon as the next update is next, you know what I mean. When we have 51, I'll talk about it on here. In the meantime, please like this video and share it with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already, and click on the little bell to get all notifications. And cue Genesis. Well, almost cue Genesis. In fact, finally, here's a quick picture from Mike Cadwalla. Here's a bunch of keyboards. Whoa! Although, as Matt Bickle comments, no, bunch isn't the right collective noun for keyboards. I think a titillation of keyboards sounds nicer. I agree. Q Genesis.